Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High and the proper names in the Paleo-Hebrew tongue. I want to say, Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakadash Mu'amath. Salakia. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, whom the world ignorantly and willingly called God of Jehovah. By Hashem meaning in the name of. Yahweh Shai meaning he who delivers, whom the world ignorantly and willingly called Jesus today. I want to give a double honor to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule well, and another double honor to my elder as well, Ahar One Biyasha Allah, at the Lions Den camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. Salutations to the 144,000 hopeful elect, pushing his truth across the four winds, and to the 1/3 remnant believers on Yahweh Shema Shah, Shalom, Shalom. It's going to be a quick lesson put together through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, and I pray to be edified. I put this lesson together a few weeks ago. I never got a chance to do it. So I know it's centered around, the fact that Yahweh Shema Shah have not cast away their people. So I'm going to start off in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, and verse 1. It says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the sun. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted." So at one point, Yahweh Shema Shah planted us in our land, and through disobedience, envy of the devil, through envy of the other nations, we were cast out of that land. So at one point we were planted, and it got to a point to where, Yahweh Shema Shah had to basically do away with us as a nation. He had to basically thoroughly purge his floor. He had to do a lot of things to his own vineyard. So we were planted at a time, we were established above all the other nations, but the time came to where we were a base till we became a tail, as stated in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. So it says, verse 3, "A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones." So we were those stones that Yahweh basically Yahweh Shema Shah basically cast away. So the time is going to come to where Yahweh Shema Shah is going to gather his stones. He's going to gather his elect from off the four, from across the four winds of the earth. And that very elect were basically descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm gonna keep going. It says, "A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing." So Yahweh Shema Shah had to refrain from embracing, the daughter of Israel, whom he had likened to a comely, delicate woman, because we were the Lord's woman. And when your woman basically commits adultery, commits fornication, and basically go against you, what you gonna do? You gonna have to put her away. No matter how much you care for her. So we basically crossed Yahweh Shema Shah, and he basically had to refrain from embracing. But the time gonna come to where Yahweh Shema Shah is gonna embrace his children once again, and he's gonna show favor to his children once again. I'm gonna keep going to verse 6. It says, "A time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away." So just what it is, plain simple. At one point, we were cast away. Yahweh Shema Shah had to cast us away for our disobedience. So let me go to the very point of this lesson in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31. So the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, and verse 31, because Yahweh had basically made a covenant with the house of Israel on Mount Sinai, basically via Moses, He never made that covenant with any of the other nations. He always used the other nations to chasten his people. And in doing so, he would bless the other nations. He would give the other nations a chance to rule. And the latest ruler of the earth would be Esau Edom. And look how much corruption had basically flowed throughout the four corners of the earth under the rule and the watch of Esau Edom. Look how many plants and look how many animals that went extinct under the rulership of Esau, Edom. So Esau's about to get taken out of the way. And then now we about to see the new covenant of Yahweh Shem Shah flourish throughout the earth, where Jacob will receive that law in his inward parts and never be able to die again. So never be able to sin again. So we basically die because we sin. So once we never able to sin again, guess what? We're going to be perfected through the will of Yahweh Shem Shah, for his name's sakes. So this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31 and verse 31. It said, "Behold, the days come, said the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." So the Lord is going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, the southern, the northern tribes and the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The Lord is going to make a new covenant with them, right? It says, "Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt." So not according to how Yahweh Shem Shah delivered our forefathers from Egypt. He's not going to make a covenant with us according to that. He's going to make a new covenant, right? So it says, "I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, said the Lord." So right, the Lord was our husband. We made a covenant to him. He said he had likened the daughter of Israel to a comely, delicate woman. We was his woman. And we basically committed fornication by following after the gods of the other nations. So guess what? He brought a nation upon us from far that didn't reverence us, that didn't reverence the Lord. Esau, Edom. A vile man. Scripture says he would bring an eagle upon us as, bring a nation upon us as swift as the eagle flieth. And then guess what? We right in his hands right now. We in the midst of, we in his claws right now. You see what I'm saying? So he was a husband unto us, but we break his covenant, just like a whorish woman would break a wedlock. Verse 33. "But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people." So right, the Lord is going to write his law in our hearts, in our inward parts. So in the kingdom of heaven, which will be established on earth, it ain't gonna be no Israelites teaching other Israelites. Everybody gonna know the Lord. All the Israelites gonna know the Lord from birth. Like the movie Avatar. Avatar, the way of the water. As soon as the baby born, already connected to the things around it. That's how we gonna be through the spirit power of Yahweh Shem Shah. We're gonna be connected to our power at all times. It ain't gonna be no other nations, no serpent, that's basically trying to cause Yahweh Shem Shah's people to go off, because we're gonna know all things. Yahweh Shah is gonna put it in us. We got a new body in heaven that the Lord basically is gonna give us, and we never gonna be able to sin again. So we never gonna be able to die. All right. It says, verse 33 again, "But this shall be the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days, said the Lord. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their power, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more." So right, and that's just what it is, man. So this is a covenant that Yahweh Shem Shah is going to make with the house of Israel, man. So if you're not an Israelite, just go ahead and put the Bible down and stop trying to teach. If you're not an Israelite, you let the Israelites break down the Bible. You see what I'm saying? Because you're trying to graft yourself in, but you've been receiving your blessing this whole time. You see what I'm saying? The house of Esau, the house of Amalek, they've been receiving their blessing. Moab, they had their chance to rule. The Africans, the so-called Hamites, they had their time to rule. The Assyrians, everybody had their time to rule. Daniel chapter 7, the Lord was fair. He gave everybody a chance, but he said, "But the day shall come." Daniel chapter 2. I believe it's Daniel chapter 2, it was Daniel chapter 4, but I believe it's Daniel chapter 2. He said, "The day shall come that he will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed." And who gonna be ruling that kingdom? Yahweh Shah. Who gonna be under Yahweh Shah? The Israelites, the Hebrews. We're not gonna be calling ourselves Black, African, Native American no more. The Hebrews will be ruling in the kingdom of heaven, which will be established on earth. If you don't like it, take it up with the Lord. So right. So the days are fastly at hand, to where Yahweh Shem Shah is going to set up that kingdom that's going to never be destroyed. All right. Verse 35, it says, thus said the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinance of the moon and the stars for a light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof war. The Lord of hosts is his name. So the Lord, he basically gave us the sun, he gave us the moon, he gave us the stars. You know, he gave us the planets. All you gotta do is go outside and look up, and you can see everything that the Lord made. All right. Verse 36. If those ordinances depart from before me, said the Lord, then the seed of Salakia. If those ordinances depart from before me, said the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. So, right, the Lord gave Esau a task that he cannot fulfill. You know, and you see him trying to fulfill it. First and foremost, if you don't want Yahweh Shema, if you don't want us to be Hebrews, you don't want us to be Israelites, you got to do away with the sun, the moon, and the stars. So we always going to be the Lord's people, man. You know, we always going to, and it says the seed of Israel, not the seed of any other nation. You know, that's why people get mixed up and they try to basically graft everybody in. You know, Jake been so downtrodden and so messed up by slavery or Stockholm syndrome that they feel as if that the Lord can't bless them with something without blessing the other nations, when they the very same people that have been at the bottom this whole time and they ain't had nothing. You see what I'm saying? You ain't been receiving no blessings. And then when you do get some, Hosea chapter 1, the Lord blow upon it. As soon as you bring it forward, the Lord, nah, it ain't your time yet. But it ain't gonna matter, because everything that we went through over these last couple of hundreds of years, it ain't gonna be able to, what, Romans chapter 8, it ain't gonna be able to compare to, you know, the trillions and billions of forever, eternity. All the time that we finna live, all the time that we finna get, all the time that we finna rejoice. So everything that the Lord took away from us from this little small short season that he allowed this devil to rule, it's not gonna matter. It's not gonna mean anything compared to everything that we finna get. But as long as the sun, moon, and the stars still is flying high in the sky, it's evident that Yahweh Shema Shai is still with his people. You know, even though he might chasten us, he might use you to do so. He might use the heathen to do so. But guess what? The time gonna come to what? He called Esau, Edom, his sword, but he called Jacob his what? His battle axe and his weapons of war. So the Lord finna put that sword down, and he finna get ready to pick up his battle axe. And what? Daniel chapter 7, verse 18, the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and to possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. So that time is coming. All right? It says, verse 36 again, if those ordinances, the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, depart from before me, said the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus said the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, so you have to do away with the sun, moon, and the stars if you want to be a Hebrew, if you want to be an Israelite, if you want everybody to be grafted into Jacob's blessing, you got to do away with the sun, the moon, the stars. You got to measure out the heavens, right? It says, if the heavens above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, said the Lord. So you got to go and measure the sea too. You got to search out all the trenches. You got to go down to the Mariana Trench. You got to go deep below the Mariana Trench, the layers of ocean that they found to where dude was trying to sink into it. He kept bouncing off of it. You got to go find out where Leviathan dwell. Search out all his house. You gotta be able to measure the whole planet, every single foot, every single inch, and you gotta be able to know all things according to this planet. And then on top of that, you gotta search out the heavens as well. If you could do all that, then you get to be an Israelite, and you get to be a Hebrew, and we're gonna serve you in the kingdom of heaven forever. You see what I'm saying? So the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai have given you a task that you cannot fulfill. Now you got what? Bill Gates over there trying to block out the sun with dust particles. You got all type of satellites in the sky because they understand this word, but Jake don't understand, and they trying to, you know, do what they got to do to try to do away with the seed of Israel. But it ain't gonna happen, man. Your plan gonna flop. Yahweh Shema Shai is not with you. You see what I'm saying? Verse 38, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that the city shall be built to the Lord from the top. This is like, I ain't mean to stop at verse 37, but right, the kingdom of heaven is going to be established on earth as it is in heaven, man. You know, and it's going to be established in Yahweh Shai gonna rule. We're going to get to see our king rule. You know, like 2,000 years ago. You know, we might not remember it, but we saw him downtrodden. You know, we saw Yahushua downtrodden. You know, we saw our people look down on him. You know, when he came, he pulled up, he was humble, he was on a donkey. People didn't believe, but when we see him now, what? It says, what's that? Revelations 14. It says, when we see him, he's going to be in his glorified form, basically. I believe it's Revelation chapter 14. A name written that no man knew but he himself. We're going to see him in his glorified form. We saw him when he was humble, but now we see him, we're going to see him when he's Super Saiyan. You know, when he turned up. You know, we're going to see him when he got the glory of Yahweh. When he got the glory of Yahweh on him. That's what we finna get ready to see, the anointed, the King of Kings, Yahushua. So this is the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. Right. This is the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 1. I say the truth in Hamashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach for my brethren and my kinsmen according to the flesh. Right. This is Paul basically wishing that he could take on, you know, everything that Yahushua had to endure. But it wasn't his lot. It was Yahushua's lot. John said, one who cometh that shall baptize with fire, and he whose shoes I am not able to latch. So John and all the prophets, you know, everybody that was hoping on the fashion and wait for the prophecy to be fulfilled for Yahushua to come, they knew who the king was. Herod the Great knew who the king was. He was a dragon that tried to basically devour the Lord at his birth. You know, doing a whole lot of scheming and lying, saying, hey man, show me where the king was born. The king of the Jews was born so I can go and worship him too. The whole time he had a mindset to slay the Lord at his birth. So Yahushua's birth in itself shaped existence. You know, it changed it started the beginning of the end. The end times. When you hear people say we in the end times, yeah, that started when Yahushua entered the matrix. When Yahushua came and played this game that nobody could play and did it perfectly. Nobody being able to walk this earth without sinning. But you got our king, he come and he walked this earth without sinning. You know, us, we just mortal men. I try my best every day not to sin. I find myself sinning. You see what I'm saying? You can't help it. But Yahushua is going to give us a body to where we're never going to be able to sin again. You see what I'm saying? It says, verse 3 again in Romans chapter 9, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Hamashiach, from my brethren and my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So you can't get around it. You got a nigga with a small hat on his head and a big ass nose walking around trying to, we could be grafted in. Hey, remove that apocrypha. Remove that apocrypha. Take that Maccabees out of the Bible. We all could be grafted in. You see what I'm saying? It's either that or we got to burn the book. You see what I'm saying? So it gets to a point to where the Israelites going to receive everything through the Spirit of Prophet Yahweh. It says, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. So right, it's just what it is, man. You ain't getting grafted in. You're going to get grafted into slavery. As soon as Yahushua crack them skies, you're going to get your orientation papers. That's what's going to happen. Ezekiel chapter 38, you know, your first job, it says, according to the Bible, you're going to have to go around the earth and bury all the dead bodies. That's according to the words of the Lord. All you got to do is open the book and read it, and you'll be able to understand. This is verse 5. First, you got to pray for wisdom, knowledge, understanding. This is verse 5. It says, whose are the fathers and whom, as concerning the flesh, Hamashiach came. So the scriptures just say that Yahushua only came for Israelites. It says, whose are the fathers and of whom. So the Israelites belong to the fathers. And if you belong to the Father, your Father gave you to Yahushua. And of whom, as concerning the flesh, Hamashiach came, who is over all, God bless forever. Amen. So right, that's just what it is. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. So don't think that just because you're an Israelite, you finna just dally on into the kingdom of heaven. You ain't been trying to keep no law, statute, commandments to the best of your ability. You ain't been reverencing Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You ain't been openly exalting the name of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You ain't been on the highways and byways doing the works. You see what I'm saying? But you ain't changed your life around. You ain't become a new creature. You just skipped over all those things, and then now you just think just because you're an Israelite, you're gonna walk into the kingdom of heaven, and you ain't become a new creature. You're not gonna fly. Verse 6, it says, not as though the word of Yahweh have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. So, all right, just because you was born an Israelite of the 12 tribes, that don't mean you of the Israel of God. That don't mean that Yahweh Shema Shai have chosen you. That don't mean that you ain't gonna be able to escape thermonuclear missiles. Even me, I could be doing all this work, right? All this work for Yahweh Shema Shai, and then mess around and fall out. And then get to a point where I got to get hit with a nuke. So we got to endure to the end. And we got to call on Yahweh Shema Shai's name to the end. We got to keep going all the way to the end. It says, verse 7, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, that which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. So if you are in this truth, doing the will of Yahweh Shema, waking up every single day, considering Yahweh Shema Shai, putting Yahweh Shema Shai first, indulging in the word of Yahweh Shema Shai, eating that which is given to you, doing the work, going out there and sharing what you know through the spirit power of Yahweh Shema Shai, then you are that seed. Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability. Then you are that seed. Just because you was born Israelite according to the flesh, somewhere living in goddamn Washington Heights, selling some fentanyl and partaking in it, that don't mean that you ain't finna get saved. You're gonna be a damn fertilizer for the ground. That's what you're gonna be. According to the word of Yahweh Shema Shai. Don't think that you just ain't finna do nothing and you just finna wake up one day, I'm gonna give my life to Christ, and think that you just finna walk into the kingdom of heaven. No, the elect were predestinated to win this game from the foundations of the earth. You have to be calling on the name of Yahweh Shema Shai. You have to be considering the Lord every single day. You could say you consider him now, in your 20s, then you wake up and you're 38, and then you run right back to your vomit. You ain't gonna get nowhere. You have to consider Yahweh Shema Shai now. Serve Yahweh Shema Shai in your youth, and then you have to continue to serve him in your old age. You do that, then Yahweh Shema Shai, when that time comes, he's gonna be with you. If ultimately it's written for you to make it from the foundation of the earth, man. You see what I'm saying? So this is the book of Romans, chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, I say then, have God cast away his people? Oh, nah, the old covenant, nah, he came to his own receive him not. Nah, the old covenant, nah, everybody could be an Israelite now. But the Lord said, if these ordinances still flying in the sky, floating in the sky, and the sun still rising every day, and the moon still outside when you look up, you see what I'm saying? Then Israel gonna be my people forever. Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So, all right, Paul was of the tribe of Benjamin, the so-called West Indies, the so-called Jamaicans. You see what I'm saying? So God ain't cast away. Yahweh Shema Shai ain't cast away his people. He gonna always be with his people as long as you wake up and you see the sun in the sky every single day. You see what I'm saying? It says, for I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God have not cast away his people which he foreknew. Right? The same ones that made a covenant Mount Sinai via Moses. Won't ye? So right, God have not cast away his people which he foreknew. Won't ye, what the scripture said of Elias, how he make an intercession to Yahweh against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and dig down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. So right, and that's just what it was, man. Our people is always wicked. The Lord will send them a prophet to go and rebuke them or tell them about the wickedness that they was doing. Nigga gonna kill the prophet. What you think they want to do to us? Or them black Hebrew Israelites on the street telling me about myself. Got the nerve to tell me that I can't be a part of that community, the Rainbow Coalition. Got the nerve to tell me that I can't be this and I can't be that. Got the nerve to tell me, oh, they hate black women. That's what a woman told me in 2022. Oh, y'all hate black women. As soon as you tell somebody about themselves, the first thing they do is they take it as a form of they take constructive criticism as verbal abuse. That's the problem, But Yahweh Shema Shai is gonna physically abuse you. And he's gonna use what? Esau to do it. Now you're gonna be somewhere in a damn ICE concentration camp because you didn't want to take heed to instruction. What you gonna be saying? How have I hated instruction? So right, it says God have not cast away his people, which he foreknew. So the Lord sent a prophet. They kill a prophet because they wicked. It says verse 4, but what saith the answer of God unto them, Yahweh? It says, I have reserved to myself 7,000 men, which have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. So right, 7 just means completion. And the Lord have basically reserved that 144,000, you know, and the hopeful elect that's not going to bow the knee and to basically receive that MOTB, that mark, that RFID, that neural thing. You know, they're not going to bow the knee to Baal like 2/3 of our people going to do. Like what they call them, Bishop Nate, you know, teaching that there ain't no BISH, bishop. You know, like, well, it's Apostle Tahar, where they say, telling people that, you know, that the RFID is not the, you know, the MOTB. You see what I'm saying? Moving in the spirit of a wolf. You know, yeah, one of the elder apostles basically did a video saying now he's trying to weave his web. So, right. So the Lord had basically reserved to himself 7,000 austere, real men that's not going to bow to the image of Baal. We ain't finna sit right here, Lord, well, I'm part of that number. We ain't finna sit right here and tell you something that you want to hear. We're going to tell you boldly to your face what it is and what it ain't. You see what I'm saying? And if you try to touch me, I'm going to call my brother. Watch, I'm going to get my brother. You see, I'm going to call you Howard Shot as soon as you try to touch me. So, right, it says, verse 5, even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. So, right, according to Yahweh Shemashah's grace. But you ain't finna just wake up and get it. No, you got to go through the straight gate. You have to, 2nd Esdras chapter 7 style. You're going to have to go through that straight gate. It says, verse 6, and if by grace, then it is no more of works. Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then it is no more grace. Otherwise, work is no more work. So it had to have that, you know, faith without works is dead, man. You have to have the healthy fear, the healthy love, the healthy respect to Yahweh Shemashah and his laws, statutes, commandments to be able to make it. You see what I'm saying? You ain't finna just be no nigga in the hood that ain't never did nothing in his life for the Lord. All he did was evil and think that you finna just get some grace at the last moment. It's not finna work like that, man. So right, it says, verse 7, what then? Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded. So right, 2/3 of our people are blinded, and they hate us. They hate us for telling the truth. And as long as Esau, Edom stand behind their decision, stand behind their decision to fully live in their wickedness, they're gonna live young, wild, and free. Hollering YOLO all the way to the oven that Esau, Edom got prepared for him. Because Esau got a task at hand. He gonna tell you whatever he want to tell you. He got a task at hand that he can't even fulfill. But in the midst of it, he gonna take you up out of here. You're gonna be collateral damage. You're gonna be a burnt sacrifice. You're gonna be something that's set up to be destroyed. You know, while the election that have attained it, we, you know, Lord, one part of that number, we obtained it, we grasp it, we hold on to our crown. You know, we say everything that we have just about this one field, and nobody's going to be able to pull Yahweh Shemashah out of our hearts, and nobody's going to be able to pluck us out of Yahweh Shemashah's hand. Plain and simple. Or the other way around. So right. Verse 8, according as it is written, God have given them the spirit of slumber. So right, the Lord gave you a spirit of slumber because he don't want you to get it. You see what I'm saying? That's why you come into the altar every damn week in the church. And then you leave that motherfucker and you get to commit and sin again. So like you leave the altar and you get to commit and sin all you want. Willingly, purposely. You see what I'm saying? So like for my my words, it says, according as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day. And David said, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. So you're going to bow down your back, you're going to bow your knee, you're going to be completely hunched over, and Esau Edom is going to basically ravish you. He's going to take control of you, man. It's going to be all up in your arm, your eyes, your forehead, and your right hand. You know, you're going to have it. You're going to be pierced. You're going to be marked. You're going to be a product of the system of Esau Edom. And Yahweh Shema Shai have closed your eyes so you ain't going to even be able to see it. So the more we even try to tell you, cast out pearls before swine, you got an evil angel blocking his ears. You see what I'm saying? God loves everybody. You see what I'm saying? Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 and verse 28. God loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand these things, man, and separate ourselves from the wicked of our people, because they can't get it. They don't have the words of life. They don't care to obtain it. So they're gonna bow down their back all the way to the destruction, all the way to the missiles, to the thermonuclear missiles hit and beat their back down. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 22. It says, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. Are they ministers of Hamashiach? I speak as a fool. I am more. The laborers more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequently, in deaths often. So it just gets to a point where Paul, he was a Hebrew. He was an Israelite. He was a minister of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. You see what I'm saying? And he had his fellow laborers, that was doing it with him. And then he had the ones that was going to the circumcision. So it gets to a point to where, and he had to go through the straight gate. He had to go through afflictions. He was trapped in snowstorms, trapped at sea. You see what I'm saying? Still striving and fighting, getting bit by poisonous snakes. Got caught up and got beat by the Jews 40 lashes 3 times. Paul was going through it. You see what I'm saying? So it gets to a point to where we got to enter into the straight gate. You're not going to just wait. You're going to go through something. Ecclesiastes chapter 2 style, it says, when I come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Make not haste in the time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. So right, you're not going to just wake up, saved and sanctified, be getting blessed every day, getting hundreds of millions of dollars every single day. Ain't no bad things happening to you. No, scripture say when you come to serve the Lord, you basically going to be chastised as a son. If you ain't receiving no chastening, you basically a bastard. The Lord's going to approve you. He's going to bring you through the fire so you can, and give you the ability to come out as fine gold. So right, it's lucky. I ain't mad at nothing. I just, be having a little excitement in my voice. It might come off as as if I'm but I'm just excited. So Salakia in advance. So this is the book of Matthew chapter 1 and verse 19. It says, right, at the birth of Yahushua, this is the book of Matthew chapter 1 and verse 19. It says, now then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her an public example, was minded to put her away privily because, Salakia. So right, because Joseph basically done, laid with her and got her pregnant before the whole moving in process. And that in itself, because when you marry a woman and took a woman's virginity back then, you got to present the cloth. You got to present the cloth to the father. They walk out with the cloth and got the blood on it. You see what I'm saying? I just took her virginity. So Joseph done already did what he did. So now he got a mindset of put her away privily. You got Christians say, virgin birth and trying to do away. It's 2 forms of a virgin. You have a young woman that's of marriageable age, and you have a woman that never had sex before. It's 2 definitions of virgins in the Bible. You look at the virgin, go to the Blue Letter Bible, and you click on the word virgin. It's going to tell you the 2 differences. Just like it's 2 differences for the word world. John 3:16, you got cosmos and you got Unkamani. One means an orderly arrangement, meaning the 12 tribes of Israel. You got Unkamani, meaning the whole inhabited world. Right? It says, then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privately. But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is the Holy Ghost. Right, she was his wife. It says, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua. Right here it say Jesus. You see what I'm saying? They say Jesus right here, but we know the letter J was created 500 years ago, really in the 1500s, but they started publishing it in books and around the 1600s. It says, and she shall bring forth a son. And these words were read, this prophecy was taken place over 2,000 years ago. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushai, and he shall save his people from their sins. So Yahushua is going to save his people. You know, plain and simple. I missed something in there. So right, Joseph ain't want to make up a public example because he was supposed to already be established, have a place for her to stay, you know, and do the marriage, the marriage, like, you know, how Tobin them did the marriage, you know, the ceremony and stuff. But he ain't do it. He did a lot, you know. But the angel of Yahweh appeared to him saying, hey, that which is conceived now is of the Holy Ghost. She conceived seed. So right, but the point being is, Yahushua was set up to save his people from their sins. You know, you can't get around it. You know, but all the other nations gonna be blessed at the same time after their 1,000-year captivity and the building up of the kingdom of heaven for free. After your 1,000-year punishment, you're gonna be blessed as well, because guess what? You ain't gotta eat no fake food. You get to breathe clean air. You get to live in an establishment to where the law, statutes, commandments of Yahweh Shem Yahshua is going to be pushed across the four corners of the earth. When they do these damn Bilderberg meetings, they're not thinking about how they can push forth the law, statutes, commandments across the four corners of the earth. They think about how they can further oppress the people. So you're going to get to live freely, because you don't have to live in a society where a dude lay with your wife. You see what I'm saying? Now it's going to be a judgment for that. They're going to be scared, because when that judgment comes, you're going to have to worry about somebody working you know, all on the Sabbath day. You get what I'm saying? So, all right. Let me grab that in the book of Isaiah. So, all right, man. The Lord is with his people, man. He have not cast off his people, which he foreknew. And it says, according to the flesh of whom Hamashiach, whom Yahushua came, it says, he shall save his people from their sins. You know, as long as the sun and the moon, the stars, the ordinances are still, as long as you go outside and you look up, you still see that, it's evident that Yahweh Shem Yahshua have not cast away his people, what we learned so far in this lesson. So, right, it's book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 6. It says, for unto us a child is born. You can't get around it, man. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end upon the throne of David. So, you can't get around it, bro. You can't get around it. What David was doing. Throwing Edomites off mountains and all type of stuff, man. You know, applying that belt to the whole world in the name of Yahweh. You see what I'm saying? So now, unto us a child was given, being Yahushua. You see what I'm saying? King David is going to be king again. King David is going to be the government. It's the 144,000. Just like Esau got his government, his military, the 144,000 is going to be the government and the military. And underneath the 144,000 is going to be the common citizens of Israel. The Israelites, the Hebrews. You can't get around it, man. You see what I'm saying? And underneath them gonna be what? The other nations, the heathens, the Goyim, according to the Bible. You see what I'm saying? So, right. It says, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. So, right, and that's just what it is, man. That's just what it is, man. So, we don't care about what y'all teaching and preaching. The Lord made our foreheads hard against y'all foreheads, you know? And that's just what it is. So, we're going to continue to teach right things while you teach smooth things. So, you can teach this prosperity doctrine. So, you continue to bring people in for money. Whole time, the eyes of the Lord are going to be upon you for evil, man, for not teaching right things. It's a reason why Jeremiah, when people was coming against Jeremiah, because he was teaching the right thing. It's the reason why people was coming against Ezekiel, Isaiah, all the prophets in the Bible, they was killing the prophets for a reason. You see what I'm saying? You don't see nobody in these churches, you know. They was killing the prophets for a reason, because the prophets were telling the truth. They were speaking in the name of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. So this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14 and verse 1. It says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, who captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors." And that's just what it is, man. Plain and simple. So you can't get around the words of the Lord. The words of the Lord are going to come to pass. It says, verse 3, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve." So the Lord basically put his own people, you know, in captivity. You think you ain't next? You think you ain't next? So it just gets to a point where if he don't do this to his own people, you next. So all that grafted in and all that spiritual Israel, no, you gonna be an Israelite according to the seed and according to the promise. Because guess what? You did what was actually right to make it to inherit the kingdom of heaven. It says, verse 4, "That thou shalt take up the proverb against the king of Babylon and say, How have the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers." So right, the Lord is gonna break this devil by the feet. Daniel chapter 7. A stone is gonna hit his feet. He's gonna break him down utterly. You know, his place is never gonna be found in heaven again if you continue to read this chapter. You know, Yahweh Shem Yahshua is not gonna allow this devil to continue to push forth wickedness across the four corners of the earth. Salakia. I do not own copyrights to this music. All right. It's going to be the book of Isaiah, chapter 49, and verse 13. It says, "Sing, O heaven, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains. For Yahweh hath comforted his people, and will have mercy upon his afflicted. But Zion said, The Lord hath forsaken me, and my Lord hath forgotten me." So right, the Lord is basically, he has a mindset, Jeremiah chapter 29 and verse 11. "I know the thoughts that I think towards you, thoughts of peace and not evil." But us being carnal, you know, you'll see the mindset of Jake. Me first and foremost. Verse 15. "Can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yeah, they may forget, yet I will never forget thee." So right, and that's just what it is, man. So what we learned from this lesson so far, man, as long as the ordinance is still in the sky when you look up, the Lord still is with his people. Have Yahweh cast away his people? God forbid. He have not cast away his people that he foreknew. You see what I'm saying? The Lord said he would never forget us. It says he would have mercy on Jacob. He would have mercy on Israel. You know, we're going to take them captives whose captives we were. You know, the Lord will not cast away his people. It says, verse 16, "Behold, I have graven thee upon the palm of my hand. Thy walls are continually before me." So, you know, when you, in the midst of your day, you might, you know, you might, ain't got your phone with you, get a girl number right quick, might write it on your, you know. The Lord said he got us graven in his hand. You know, so as he out there preparing a place for us, he remembering Israel. You know, he's not going to forget. You know, Yahweh Shem Yahshua is not going to cast away his people. And we're going to continue to be a people before the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You know, I believe I got one more precept. I'm going to go see what it's about. I pray this lesson is edifying. Once again, if I get a little excited, I'm not mad or have any anger towards anybody out there. I just get excited when I talk about Yahweh Shemel Shai, and a lot of years of playing every drum, drum line, my mind just be, thinking of rudiments. So I kind of talk in rudiments. You Google what a rudiment is according to the Bible. You put a rudiment together, you got to use these rudiments to try out for college drum lines. So it's just always on my mind. So I walk according to it, talk according to it, fight according to it, just just food for thought. So this is the book of Hebrews chapter 8, and I'm gonna get the prologue. It says, by the eternal priesthood of Hamashiach, the Levitical priesthood of Aaron is abolished. That's why they said, that's why Guerrilla Hebrew was saying what he was saying about these books. It says, by the eternal priesthood of Hamashiach, the Levitical priesthood of Aaron is abolished, and the temporal covenant with the fathers by the eternal covenant of the gospel. So it just gets to a point to where we're just gonna get straight into it. Verse 1, it says, now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens, a minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle which the Lord pitched, and not man. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices, wherefore it is a necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there is a priest that offer gift according to the law, who served unto the example of the shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of Yahweh. Then he was about to make the tabernacle, for said he that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. But now have he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is a mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. So first and foremost, we couldn't even keep the laws that, the laws that Moses basically established. People were basically being unalived during that time by people who also couldn't keep the law. And it got to a point where we was offering up so many sacrifices, you might as well say we was having a barbecue every day. Our people, I'm finna just go ahead and commit this adultery. I already got my sacrifice ready. That's probably something Jake was saying. If you know how he is, I got my sacrifice ready right now. One of them the dudes that was supposed to have been offered up by his parents sitting on the couch. I got my sacrifice ready right now. So our people just committing sin, taking a sacrifice, and thinking that it was gonna work. So I thought, wow, y'all were like, nah, man, no more, man, no more. I got a new covenant I'm gonna do, right? It says, verse 7, for if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, said the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, said the Lord. So right, it's the New Testament. He's still gonna make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, because we was the one that broke the first. And we was the one who got sent into captivity for not keeping it. So guess what? He's gonna make a new covenant with us. This time we ain't gonna never be able to break it again. So now we ain't never going back into captivity. We're gonna rule the earth forever. It says, verse 10, for this is a covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after the days, said the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and I will write them in their heart, and I will be to them a power, be to them a God, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. So right, and that's just what it is, man. It says, for I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. And that he said, a new covenant he hath made, the first old, Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away. So right, it's fastly approaching, man. We finna get ready and see that new covenant, enter into that new covenant as soon as those missiles hit this place, man. Yahweh Shem Yahshua is gonna beam us up into chariots. We're gonna stand on the sea of glass with new bodies. He's gonna set crowns upon all of our heads. You know, all the ones that make it, all of our heads. So Yahweh Shem Yahshua is gonna set crowns on 144,000. Lord, when I'm a part of that number. You see what I'm saying? And we come back down to take this earth, and Revelation chapter 21 fashion, or 22, Revelation chapter 21 fashion, we come back down and take the earth. We ain't gonna be sinning. We're gonna be perfect. We're gonna be perfect just like our big brother is perfect, man. So right, I pray this lesson was edifying. Shalom, on to the next.